If you're a gamer like me, chances are you're familiar with PAX, the Penny Arcade Expo, which is one of the largest and most popular gaming conventions in the country. And if you are familiar with PAX, you're probably also familiar with the impressive volunteer workforce that not only makes every area of the convention function properly, but is truly the lifeblood of the show: the Enforcers. Enforcers make the show happen. They work in every area of PAX, such as line entertainment and management, gaming free playstations and tournaments, main theater and satellite theaters, logistics, enforcer welfare, expo halls, security, and much more. Beyond all of the amazing work the enforcers do, I soon realized that being an enforcer wasn't just a job. For many, it was a community, a second family, a way of life, and a home. I was intrigued by the passion of this tireless workforce, and I wanted to find out, what does it really mean to be an enforcer?
Being an enforcer to me means ensuring that everyone here has the best time they can possibly have.
It's for the attendees. It's not for you. Enforcers isn't some sort of upper class of people where you get all the perks. And a lot of it means you kind of have to let go of what you want to see and what you want to do and what you want to get out of the convention, because you're there to make sure that the people who attend are having a good time.
People will see me wearing my enforcer shirt like months later and be like, "You did such a good job at PAX." It's such a mind-blowing experience how much people appreciate you being there.
I mean, on a very, very small level, it's kind of like people who went to war together. We did it. People were happy. People had a great time. We had a great time. How can you ask for more than that?
I was surprised at how much of a community it is. Part of it is just, we're at PAX, and when we're there, people, they recognize us, they hold us in a high regard. But then even outside of the con itself, being an enforcer is a part of a larger community that I didn't know existed beforehand.
Enforcers were basically just kind of the semi-invisible glue that kept everything together.
I wanted to become an enforcer because it seemed like a really cool way to get involved. And I was like, wow, I could kind of experience it behind the scenes.
And I saw this email like, hey, you want to volunteer for Penny Arcade? And I was like, oh yeah, I love Penny Arcade. Sure, why not? I had no idea what I was doing. It was great. It was hands down the most amazing thing I've ever decided to do in my life.
Going to PAX and being an enforcer has very much enriched my life. It's something I look forward to so much.
I have so many more friends now than I ever have in my entire life. It kind of deconstructs the way that you think about making friendships. It gives you this weird new confidence in yourself. I didn't know that this kind of connection was really possible.
You instantly make friends inside the community. It's just so large, it's impossible not to.
It's kind of like an auto friend mode. Pretty much everyone that you meet here is a really solid individual that you can connect with, and these are the kind of people that you want to be friends with in the first place.
Enforcers are awesome. They're also 99.9% of the time not dicks.
There was a bunch of attendees that had been in line for a very, very long time in a Disney booth. They were waiting to get a picture drawn by actual Disney animators. And they had been there for 5.5, 6 hours at that point. I realized that they were probably breaking a record. I looked into it. I talked to a bunch of other enforcers who were all willing to verify, think back to all the concerts, everything. And they were breaking a record. This was the longest wait in PAX history. It was 6.5 hours. And when I told them that and was able to say, hey, you're breaking a record right now, they were really, really excited about the fact they had been sitting there for longer than anybody else in PAX history had sat there, that all of a sudden went from being a little tired and angry that this is where their PAX had gone to die, to being just really excited about breaking this arbitrary record. They were suddenly having a great time. Like, they hung around afterwards, took a picture together with the animators, they exchanged email addresses. It was really, really cool to just plant a seed, come up with an on-the-fly arbitrary thing to tell them about, and just turn their day around.
When I tell people I'm an enforcer, it kind of depends on where they're coming from. There are some people that they've either always wanted to go to PAX, or they do go to PAX, or they just have, really high regard for Penny Arcade. And when they hear that you're part of it, not just that you've been to a PAX, but that you're on the inner circle, so to speak, they're really excited, they're really envious, they're really curious about it.
Generally, the reaction at PAX is very positive. People, say, oh, we love you guys. Outside of PAX, I don't think people know that much outside of PAX, but I tell them that I volunteer.
So when people ask me, especially folks at work or whatever, I tell them I'm part of the volunteer group and that it's my job to make people happy. And they sort of, question that a little bit, because there's not a good correlation. Like, that's really your job?
I actually often don't even use the name enforcer. I just say, oh, there's a convention. I explain what the convention is, and I say that I volunteer, work behind the scenes at it.
I've given up on trying to explain. I mean, I'm 27, you know, I'm a marketing professional, you know, I have a very normal life outside of this, and, you know, but I make costumes, and I have like a piece of armor that I brought with me, and, you know, I had purple hair a month ago. So it's like, if they don't understand it by now, they're just never gonna.
I work in the game industry, and when I go out for jobs, I put enforcer on my resume. And every time someone's been to PAX, they're like, oh my God, you're an enforcer? Oh my God, you guys are so helpful. But usually also when I explain that I'm going to Seattle, people are like, oh, why are you going to Seattle? And I'm like, oh, to work at a gaming convention. They're like, oh, that's really cool. And I explain what we do, and they're like, that's really cool.
Outside PAX, you usually get the people who don't really know what it is, and you get to describe to them this whole culture and this whole community that you're a part of, and you're super excited to be a part of it. When you're in the convention, you get a lot of thank yous, and it's really kind of cool.
A lot of us are really just kind of attendees that just sort of want to give back a little bit.
You know, I think the most challenging thing is that we just make it look so damned easy. I don't think people understand how hard it is and what we sacrifice.
The most challenging thing about being an enforcer is long hours. You are on your feet as long as the doors are open. I had a pedometer one year, and I think I walked the width of Rhode Island 2 times over during my weekend at PAX.
I come to PAX as a volunteer because it's something that I love to do, but you know, when I go back home, I have a real job. You know, I'm an attorney, and my job is demanding. You know, you never really get time to de-stress sometimes, and so the hardest part can just be sustaining a high level of stress.
The problem with being an enforcer is that everyone knows who you are, and they know that you are running this con, and they know that you're in charge.
You have like an automatic level of esteem in this huge group of thousands of people. That's a really challenging thing to have to handle.
You inadvertently become the ambassador to PAX, because if something bad happens with Penny Arcade, then people want to ask you, how can you be involved in that? You know, and you don't have all the answers, and it's hard. It's hard.
They kind of ask you the same questions over again. It's a lot of dealing with the same problem for a couple hours. You know, can I do this thing? No, you can't. Can I do this thing? No, you can't. Can I do this thing? Yes, now you can do that thing. People are, you know, they're naturally curious. They're like, can I get over here and get some free stuff? No, you can't just like walk anywhere you want. So it's just trying to keep curious attendees from walking into a back room. I was about to say getting murdered, but I just noticed that most of my answers are war and murder, and now I'm feeling really self-conscious about that. So.
Just this last PAX, I was line entertaining for the Gearbox panel. That line went from the 3rd floor of the Sheraton, through the hotel, down the block, and around the corner. I actually volunteered to be one of the people who told a bunch of people the bad news that they weren't getting in, but instead I ended up helping people get water, because it's been an unseasonably warm Labor Day for Seattle, and that hallway in certain sections were 80, 85 degrees. So I set up my own little water brigade with other enforcers to make sure that everyone had water. We had to coordinate just bringing huge 5-gallon things of water back and forth. It's very easy to feel invisible, and I know that I really helped that group feel a lot better and have a better PAX.
I wish more people knew that you really can ask us for anything. I think some folks have that hesitancy of, you know, oh, this person's important, like I should not bother them. But like, I always have time to answer people's questions. I wish more people knew that you were just very open, very friendly.
The thing that I'd like people to know is just that it's a crazy diverse mixture of people. There's just so few places you can run into this incredible cross-section of the world and just all of a sudden become instant friends with them.
Also, that a lot of us are really normal. Like, Carlin's an attorney, like I'm in marketing, Naki's a writer. This is not what we do all of the time. And I feel like people have this kind of perception that some of us, like, you know, live in our parents' basements or something like that, but it's so not true.
Sure, there's a bunch of us that fit that stereotype of a gamer, but there's also so many of us that just break out of that stereotype. It says something really, really cool about the gamer culture that people don't normally see in, like, the media.
We work hard, and, you know, we do this because we love it, and it's not really for anything but that.
PAX for me is always just a series of highlights. You have a best thing that happens every hour.
This is the best fake non-job I've ever had. I have never felt more appreciated, and I have never felt that I have made more of a difference to individual people and our community than being an enforcer.
It's really been one of the highlights of my lifetime. It's made me feel a lot better about the communities I participate in and the level that I can make differences.
I love everything about being an enforcer, and I hope more people, get a chance to experience this joy.
There's definitely something special about PAX.
You should try to get here. There's a reason why people want to come here. So come here.